Gaming is for friends.
I thought this music was so epic.
We all like talking about gaming. The only thing that I disliked about the old game. There are so many different conversations started by gaming.
Oh, I forgot. I have you.
This could be anything. Okay, walk in that green goo. Oh, nope. That's a no. Anything gaming. Hi, welcome to Anything Gaming, episode 27. We're getting through some hardcore episodes now. As always, Woody, how are you going today?
I am fantastic. I just had a wonderful day, actually. Visited friends west, so that was pretty much my afternoon. Other than that, just chilled out, tried to catch up on some games. Finally played Pikmin 3 again. I've been sleeping on that. Doing very well. And yourself?
I've been really well as well. I've been trying to organize a few things. I've been playing a few games. I actually traded in some games. I know that's the word that hurts your soul, but I traded in I traded in a whole heap of games and got good money for them too, which is not normal.
Right.
Like, I think people are going and buying all these. There's not as many traded games as there used to be, so they're paying better money for them now.
What generation, might I ask?
Oh,
Like,
just
what games?
so a couple of Switch games, a couple of PS5 games.
Oh, nice. Some more, yeah.
Yeah, but I was getting like a fair bit of money, like $35 was the average kind of price. That's Australian, so it's probably like $20 American, kind of that kind of thing, which that's not terrible for a game that I played. And yeah.
Well, no, like seriously, so you got to watch where you sell it. Like over here, it'd be like GameStop. You sell at GameStop, and you're not going to get anything, more or less, you know. So you want to try to find like the retro stores, the collector stores, stores that will.
But this was at
You're still gonna lose
GameStop.
money.
This was at our GameStop. EB Games is
Oh.
your GameStop over here. So, and it was like, oh, I was so surprised at the amount of money I got for these games. I'm like, well, maybe I'll sell the rest of my games, damn it, and have nothing to play.
So jealous you're there on EB Games, man. I haven't been to EB Games in like decades. You know, I just, oh man, they were the best. Them and Software, etc. Bygone time.
Yeah, I like going to those shops too, and I miss. They don't seem to make enough. We need to get more and more of the collector's edition of games, but because everything's digital now, we don't get enough figurines with our games. That was something I so loved in the early 2000s, kind of 2010s, kind of started to fall apart. But yeah, I love those collector things. I had so many. Now there's like one or two a year. Makes me sad.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, they were so cool. So, like, some of them were just so majestic. You forget that it's a video game. You forget that there's a video game in this thing. You know, that you like a disc that you can play. They were just so cool. I mean, I think the pinnacle of them was the Fallout 4 special edition that actually came with a Pip-Boy.
Oh,
They
yes.
could put your phone in.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like, that was so cool.
Yeah, I agree. I liked and the Call of Duty ones where I'd get a drone or my favorite thing, I still have it, is my night vision goggles from Modern Warfare 2, I want to say. Love that. But
No, oh yeah, that Call of Duty, you got to give it to them. They knew how to do a special edition. You know, they knew what to give, something cool. So some special editions are just goofy. I mean, the Rage 2, when I picked that up, it wasn't really selling too well, but there was a special edition that came with one of those wing sticks. Oh man, I got some fun out of that. I was tossing that at everything because it was just like, you know, styrofoam, so it didn't hit anything. So I was just like, boom, just chucking it across the living room.
that's what sometimes I'd buy a random game based on the special edition. It was in the bin, it was marked down, it had a special edition figurine or something. Never heard of the game before. I'd go and buy it just because I'm like, oh, why not? Let me try that. Yeah, I used to love all that kind of stuff. It was, yeah, reminiscing. But this week we're going to talk about licensing in games and some of the big fails and crazy stuff that's happened when video games go to do licensing. You've got a fun couple of stories, and yeah, do you want to get with that?
Well,
or?
like, Well, I think one thing that spurred this on was I didn't realize this. Now, back in the day, the 360 era, really a little earlier than that, everyone we got Madden in America. That's American
Mm.
football, and that's like the franchise for American football, Madden. And it's been going strong since I think the first one was '89,
Yeah.
and there's a yearly one every year. Well, concurrently to that, for a while there was NCAA football, which was the college football league, and just as big. Lots of fans over here. Of different these college football teams. So it was a big series. But one of the problems was that you would have these college athletes on the cover of the game. Their character model would be in the game. Their name would be in. They'd be all over the game. They wouldn't get a penny of that at all.
Oh.
Yeah, because at the time they're unpaid athletes. They're doing it for
Ah.
college. So it was a big, boondoggle. South Park lampooned it very well. So I believe the last NCAA football was 2013. Someone wants to correct me on that, they can, but around there, yeah, they just stopped doing it because they really couldn't reach a good agreement. So there's been like no college football, but now EA is coming out with EA College Football 25, which will, and I guess they did work around some of the athletes will be compensated for their likeness in the game and all that. Although already some standout football players have declined being in the game, though.
What? Why not just pay their tuition for the year? Like, so you can go to college for free if we can put your name in the
A
game.
lot, a lot of these athletes kind of already are. They're on
Ah.
sports scholarships. Yeah, they're there to play football. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they get a free ride, which is great. They do well. They do well enough to get to the NFL. So really, like in terms of like actual college, like reimbursement, they don't need it any more than they're already getting really on that end. But on my personal opinion, if someone's using your likeness, your face especially for advertising, then yeah, you should absolutely should get cut a check.
I agree. Like, Tony Hawk was probably the biggest one in the gaming thing because apparently, as the story goes with him, he was very much like going to get, I think, 100 grand or like $100,000. That was a lot of money to him because he hadn't made the big time. When Tony Hawk 1 was going to come out, he hadn't made the big time. So he was going to get, I think it was $100,000, maybe a couple of $100,000, which is a lot of money to him at the time. And he could have taken that money and bought his house. He said, I could have bought my house outright and I would have been happy. But what happened was he thought, hang on, but what about if this game blows up? I wanted just a percentage. Give me a percentage of this game. And so that's where he ended up getting the percentage and made millions and millions out of it. Way better than if he took the $100,000 at the start of the thing. So,
I mean, like Tony Hawk's hip enough. I could totally see him playing that game for the first time, being like, "Wow, like this is you got something here."
yeah.
Like that's like a great business decision on his end.
Yeah, I think so too. But so you could see that these college athletes, and there is like that weird thing. Like, I don't know in America what's the minimum age that you can earn like money from a job or anything like that? Is there uh
Well, around here at least. Well, I think it's state by state. I
mm,
know in my state, Massachusetts, 16. I had a job at 16 years old, but there are like certain instances. I mean, child actors.
mm,
You know what I mean? Christ, there are kids right now working on Instagram that are 5 years old,
mm.
and making a lot of money doing it. So
But
where is the line in there?
I wonder if the parents are getting paid for that part. So I think that's where there's some blurry lines. I think because they're not of age yet or an
I
adult,
mean,
it makes it a bit
for
blurrier.
for video games, it can't be that much different than movie deals or even
Mm,
advertising deals, TV deals. Just another thing to slap your face on and go. And a lot of sports games have done that. Going to Tony Hawk too. Um, like it's not just Tony Hawk in the game. You got
Mm.
other skateboarders there. Sometimes some aren't. I think there's one skateboarder, Bob Bergquist, who's not in a Tony Hawk game. I don't know which one, but he actually made his own Tony skateboarding game. He was licensed for another skateboarding game, so he wasn't in that
Ah.
edition. Yeah, and that one didn't take off. I never played it, so maybe it's great. I don't know. But I believe he went back to the Tony Hawk game after a while.
But I would say, what is a sports game if you can't play those characters as well?
Mm.
Like if I can't play Madden or Michael Jordan or whoever it is in that sports particular genre of sports game, I feel like there's not really that much of a game because every kid wants to play their superstar heroes in those type of games.
Well, I do know for NBA Jam back in the day, or at least the popular one, Michael Jordan wasn't in it at all.
Mm.
But the 90s, and this ain't blowing smoke, in the 90s, the NBA was just like packed with stars.
Mm.
Charles Barkley,
Shaquille
Scottie
O'Neal.
Pippen, Shaquille O'Neal, Dennis Rodman,
Mm.
just like all these people. So, while Michael Jordan may have to a lot of people been the pinnacle, he wasn't the only. You
Mm.
know, I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell you anyone. I can't even tell you who plays for the Celtics, really. So I can't speak for today. But back then, there was a lot of characters. Plus, they also had goofy characters like George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic, and I think Bill Clinton was in the game or something like
What
a
was
parody of him.
what was the guy that had the glasses and he played with the Bulls too for a period there. I think not Scotty Pippen. I don't know.
But with the Bulls, so probably Rodman, but I don't
No,
think
it
Rodman
wasn't
wore
Rodman. It
glasses.
was another one. And he had the glasses on, and he
Maybe
kind of
Abdul-Jabbar had glasses.
no. Now I've they were like goggles. They were full goggles he used to wear. So
Patrick Ewing.
maybe it was him. Yeah. Well, I don't know. He was like one of the
That's
first
been so
ones. It was
long.
one of the
Yeah.
first ones, and I used to play as that guy all the time because I thought, he kind of had a Steve Urkel feel to him too. So,
Well, yeah, no, like they're more for just like protection because like they're probably like super nearsighted.
yeah,
It's, one of the only reason why I know that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wore glasses because in the movie Airplane, when his character's getting taken away, he's in his Lakers uniform and he's got the thick basketball glasses on while they're carrying him away.
yeah.
License. Speaking of licensing with sports games too, I can think we can agree that every sports game, whether it be Madden, whether it be FIFA, whether it be like a Tony Hawk game, you need decent music in that game.
Oh
Which
yeah.
means that you have to license these songs. These songs don't come cheap. Some come cheaper than others.
Yeah.
But it's always like interesting when you hear a song band that doesn't really lend their music a lot to a video game, but they get that song. It's like ooh, you know.
Well, obviously,
One.
Guitar Hero that's what
Oh,
I'm thinking. Are we going Guitar Hero?
well, I'm just talking about licensing songs in general
Mm.
for these video games because it doesn't even have to be a popular song. A great story. This is a long story. It starts in the '90s and even has updates going from a couple years ago. It's no secret now that Michael Jackson was collaborated with Sega. They made Moonwalker together, and Michael Jackson was very forward thinking when it came to video games. So much so that he actually collaborated with Sega for some music for games, most notably Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Oh really?
Now, oh yeah, there's some songs in that game where if you play these songs back to back with certain Michael Jackson songs that I think they came out during the History album or whatever album had black and white on it. Um, very similar beats, very similar, but it wasn't licensed to Michael Jackson at the time, so they stayed in game, and we're talking they stayed in game till like Sonic Mega Collection for GameCube and all that. But when Sonic Origins came out just a couple years ago, I guess they fought it and they actually had to change those songs. So when you play Sonic Origins, the Sonic 3 version of Sonic Origins, even if you're playing the classic mode, you're not going to hear the original songs. There'll be different songs.
That's a fun fact. I did not know that
Oh yeah,
one. Yeah,
no.
right.
Because of that, I prefer to play Sonic 3 and Sonic 3 Knuckles either for reals on Genesis or on the game version I got. Not that the Sonic Origins one's bad. You got anniversary mode on that, so it adds new stuff. But yeah, licensing, man, they can just take songs all the time. Happened again with Grand Theft Auto. The trilogy just came out. That doesn't have all the songs from the original PlayStation 2 games.
Oh, really?
Um, Michael Jackson. There's no Michael Jackson songs in Vice City for the remaster. There was in the original. A couple other ones too. The one I didn't like was they couldn't license the Tom Petty song that was in San Andreas. That bummed me out. I wish they could have done that because I liked that song playing it back in the day. It always reminded me of like flying in the desert, trying to fly in the desert.
One of the fun ones I liked was when they did the new Tony Hawk. They put the old, like not all of the old songs on, but then they put like the newer songs on. So they were like, they kind of had like this balance between new and old, like old school, like pop or more grungy rock kind of stuff. And then they put the newer kind of ones in there too. And so
I love that too because there was actually some good new tracks in there too that I liked. But I also thought that was a clever idea because there were some original songs in Tony Hawk 1 2 that they couldn't get. So to try to like fill the gap, they did a very good job with it. You're right. The songs there were really good.
Yeah, I just thinking, oh yeah, these songs and they all kind of went together because like all the old songs and the new songs were just so like on point to being the same.
Rock will never die.
Oh no. But the one that kind of like Guitar Hero, right? So here's a licensing question, and I don't know the answer to this, but if you've got like a song, for example, that's a Guns N' Roses song, and all of a sudden you have Slash doing the guitar on there, so then are you I assume you're licensing Slash on his own on a separate deal versus Guns N' Roses on as the music, which would be the whole band would get a cut of that versus that, or are they
be like? No, I think that problem stops at the record part,
okay?
At the actual recording. So like they're getting a cut as if they were using a commercial or a movie, and that's it. Just like that's the flat rate. They probably have veto power on whether it gets used in that or not if they want to. And some have been notorious. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin has constantly said he would never license any of his music to video games. Prince, Prince also no. Some have embraced it with open arms. Michael Jackson did. David Bowie did. Foo Fighters do. Oh, they put all their music as much as they can, whether they're alive or dead now, in video games. So that stops at that. It seems like more people more now are open to it. There's some dinosaurs, and you got to respect their opinion. But at the same time, I would have bought Led Zeppelin Rock Band.
Everyone would have. Well, I remember there was a lot of, like, to go slightly off topic, but there was a lot of bands that wouldn't throw their music onto streaming services to start with, and then they finally came around. So,
well, it took a while, Well, look at the Beatles, After a while, I'm sure Paul McCartney looked and was like, all right, video games are a thing. It's a medium. I should add to it. And that's probably how I remember Beatles Rock Band came out around the same time that they were putting the Beatles on, the iTunes. And because it went on there first. Now it's on every streaming service.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal. There were commercials for it. So it was kind of like it was a good moment in time just to be able to play these songs and listen to video games that you would never listen to. You'd never hear Beatles in a video game.
I agree. I like it when you get the retro stuff and the new stuff. And I think when you talk, going back to Grand Theft Auto, because I remember Vice City having one of the greatest soundtracks I've ever seen. Like, I got into Helmet because of Vice City. I love that song so much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the jam.
I love that song so much. But I used to always get into the car and I'd flick through the radio stations till I got to the rock station and listen to that one. You get into like some cars that were more like pickups or whatever, and they always have country playing. Like,
hey. Okay, K Rose, man. If Amos Moses is on, I listen to that.
But yeah, and then you flick through and you get your Christians and you get these guys talking and you get all these different ones together. They must have spent almost as much time working at the best rock stations or what am I talking about? Radio stations as they did spend on the game itself, I reckon. There must have been at least 10 people working on those songs. But
it's I've always wondered just like what songs they weren't able to get because look at Rockstar, they have enough money. If they want to get any Prince song, any John Lennon song, whatever you can think of a big name, oh you can't get their music, they could throw that in the video game. But it takes a lot of money, so definitely Grand Theft Auto's not to spend a lot because their soundtrack's always been tight, going back to Vice City. They never skimp on it. Even Grand Theft Auto 4 had some good songs in it. But for the time, it was really good.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do this time around. That'd be fun. Speaking of licensing, however, what are your thoughts on when they like Call of Duty brings out Nicki Minaj skin? Do you love those crossover licensing things like that? Fortnite's mad for it.
Dead by Daylight does it. I mean, you got these games like Multiverses that are more just like license gardens. But I support it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to buy the game because of it or anything like that. I don't support it financially. But who am I to say? Someone would be like, "Oh, I don't play a lot of video games, but I like Billie Eilish. So and I noticed that she's in Fortnite now. So now I'm gonna play that. If that works, then fine. It is there's a bit of a glut of it, honestly. I think it's getting a little too much. Like, everyone's got a licensed video game deal now. It's kind of funny, really. I could never imagine that happening, like, any time before now.
Well, okay, I'm thinking back to the first crossover licensed video game, and it made such a big deal. Well, the first one I can remember was, I think, Alien versus Predator, which was a video game before it was a movie. Right. Is that correct?
It was a comic book before it was anything else, published by Dark Horse.
Okay.
A great one. God, anyone out there that could school me on this? I'm barely an apprentice when it comes to comic book lore, especially anything that's not Marvel or DC. But from what I read, and I did read of it, it was a gritty comic with swears, blood, violence, no nudity, but it felt like a grown-ups comic. Like if you were a teenager, you're reading this. I wasn't yet. I was only 11, 12 during my quick stay into comic book land. And eventually.
So then they made the video game, and then they made the movie. Is that correct?
Right. Yep. That is correct. Yeah. Yes. Alien versus Predator, the Jaguar, or at least the one I'm thinking of, where you can actually play as the alien, the Predator, or one of the Marines. Playing as the Marine is actually easier because he gets a gun.
Yeah. Right. But that was the first kind of mostly crossover that I can ever think of. And I remember that coming out just thinking, because I think Alien was massive at the time and Predator was also quite large when they first came out. And I'm thinking, why can't they make movies like this? Why can't they do more things where they collab these two things together? And yeah, I just thought that was fantastic. I think some other things, Mario doesn't do nearly enough crossovers. He's one that I'd like to see. Probably Nintendo's too tight with him.
Well. See, when it comes to crossovers, Nintendo's more selective. They'll cross over with other video games.
Yeah,
you can see that with Smash Brothers. There's a lot of like cool licensing thing going there, but it's about other video games. You'll get other video game characters. I don't think you're ever going to see Jake Paul in Smash Brothers. You got to be a video game person to get into the club there. Yeah. Which might be for the best, I guess. Keep it in the family.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think that I don't know. And the only Mario one that I thought was a really weird licensing option for Mario was what's the one with the
Rabbids?
Yeah, Rabbit. That's just such a weird one for me. I don't understand why that was even a thing. Like every time I look at I don't it doesn't appeal to anyone that was interested in Mario, and I don't know if the Rabbits fan club is that huge into Mario. So it's just that one's a weird one to me.
No, so the weird licensing when they add, a good example of licensing is just like we got to call it what it is, just straight out commercials.
Hmm.
But I remember that the when the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, you would actually get Pizza Hut
Oh
pizza.
yes.
And I think they had to change it. Like later on, I think when you play the Cowabunga collection, they change it. Maybe it says something different. I don't know. Little things like that always got to me. Another old school crossover I did like, and actually a couple games did this. When a game would be similar enough that they would actually like have a little competition with each other, Capcom did this very well.
Hmm.
They had Street Fighter versus Tekken.
Yeah.
They had Capcom versus SNK. You could say they had Marvel vs. Capcom, but like that's more of licensing the characters, not the actual game style itself, not like the video games themselves. So Capcom's always been very forward thinking with its licensing and lending them, taking some in.
Well, what's Super Smash Brothers? Is that Capcom?
Super Smash Brothers on the whole is Nintendo, but
That's
just
just
thinking out
one big
loud.
advertisement.
Okay, so it's got Sega, Konami, Capcom, Squaresoft, Monolith Soft. I'm not going to count the Pokemon Company because that's kind of owned by Nintendo. Um, Rare,
Mojo.
Mojang, yeah, read that. What else came? Like trying to think of all like the extra characters there.
Oh,
Well, Hero is Square Enix,
Sega, isn't it?
the Sega, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's already like 7 different
Mm.
companies that have come to the party, and I gotta be missing a couple of them.
And the weirdest one in that is that they don't allow Mario to be the most OP in that game. Apparently, the most OP character is actually Steve from Minecraft. He's the one that can kill everyone. That's what all the
Well,
hardcore players play.
I think that's a testament to how Mario was always supposed to be just the average.
Okay.
Average strength, average speed, average jump,
Yeah,
solid 2.0.
no, fair enough. But yeah, I love. I don't know. I'm with you though. I love a good crossover. And I love a good licensing. You have this. You have that. Um, but I dislike the whole how much it is now. It's just if you're a big chain title and you've got online, especially if you've got online multiplayer, one of your skins is going to be a crossover 100%. That's just how it is nowadays.
I'm playing through Fallout 4 right now. I have a Doom from the video game Doom
Hmm.
suit. I have the Mandalorian armor. I have the Umbrella Operator suit, which is from one of the Resident Evil games I've never played. I got the I can't pronounce it. Just call it Halo armor.
Hmm.
But the funny thing is, some of these are mods. The Doom one isn't, but it's kind of owned by the same company, so
Yeah.
I don't know how much of they cross over the same way Mario could cross over with Zelda. At
Yeah.
this point, they're all part of the same umbrella.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but you'll see that in other games too. Like what was it there? Resident Evil 2 had a couple. A cool crossover one was Resident Evil 3, the original Resident Evil 3, that had a costume for Jill that you could play as Regina from Dino Crisis,
Mm.
which was another Capcom game, but it was a nice little crossover. I'm assuming licensing for that is fine, even though they haven't touched that.
I
That's actually. Oh, no, sorry.
No, I was gonna say so you can carry on, but I was saying I wonder how many soft drinks and like all those type of things are in licensed into games because I feel like fast food is probably the most popular license. I mean, you said the Pizza Hut, you said those kind of things. In for Fallout, is there actually they have to have some old Pepsi cans or something floating around there or something like that.
No, they got there for their company, but that doesn't mean that it's never happened before. I mean, I've played plenty of video games that like just I can't even tell you what the game was. It's probably just the most basic random video game that you could think of. Probably just some crap PS2 third person shooter that I rented back in the day. But you would like run by like the soda machines, and it'd be a Pepsi soda machine.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd see Mountain Dew and all these other flavors too. It's just little things like that. Then they would take it to the extreme, and you would actually get games based off food.
Oh.
And we're talking as recent as original Xbox 360 era. One of my favorite ones, actually. Burger King came out with 3 video games for the 360, and they were compatible with the original one. They were just like, one of them Sneak King, you sneak around Burger King, and you just sneak up to people and give them Whoppers. Another one was a racing game. I can't tell you what the third game was, but they were just giant advertisements.
It's too much.
Right, yeah. I mean, like going further back, you could talk about McKids for the NES, which was actually a decent platformer for its time. But once again, you're trying to get the Hamburglers in it. Like that's all that you need to say about the game. That the Hamburglar was in it. Just they throw around these licenses. Just they give them to the companies, and it says, "Here, make a game out of it."
I know that Duracell used to be one of the battery types that was in Pikmin. The early Pikmins, they had the Duracell batteries, and they removed it for the update version, which was...
They've done that a lot. They're good at it too. You'll hear about that. They'll remaster a game, but there was an advertisement for Gillette razors or something, and now they can't get it, so now they got to go and scrub it.
Oh, one of the weird ones where a game licenses itself. Oh, yeah, what I'm talking about here. Okay, I'll stay on board. But for example, Tomb Raider is probably really good at this, where Tomb Raider, there was the new one that they just released. There was like a room there that you could go into, and it'd have like rude, not nude, but like sexy photos of Lara Croft laying on the beach but they're set as if they were a different levels or different games of herself. So in, I think Tomb Raider 3, they had Tomb Raider 1 and 2 pictures in its actual game. So I don't know if it's actually licensing itself, but it's kind of it's kind of retelling itself. Hey, check out my other games as well.
Oh, like an advertisement. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Sometimes the one thing you got to sell is yourself. I thought you were talking about like sometimes you got to be careful what you license. People remember when Nintendo decided to give the license to Mario and Zelda to Philips.
Oh yes!
Back in the 90s,
oh, that was great.
For the CDI. Nintendo had nothing to do with the game. They didn't touch it, but they just lent out the license as if it was a franchise.
Ugh.
It did not pay good dividends.
I still want one of those Philips machines just for those classic games.
Dude, I want the stupid big one that looks like a VCR. Yeah. No. Anytime I get old technology, I want it to look stupid, outdated, and shaded some ugly color.
Oh.
Make it real.
Just on a side note, back to the Lara Croft thing, that brought me back to that because they removed that from the new game. So that was a hidden room that was hard to find. They had pictures of Lara laying there kind of scantily clad, so we should say, and they took them out because it was a bit sexist, but now they've put them back in so we can all enjoy those pictures of Lara laying there. They listen to the fan. Yeah.
It's for, continuity. Personally, look, I understand that physical media is dying and we're going to push digital, and that's great, awesome, yay. But if we're going to do that, if you're going to put all the games to that, at least have the decency to make that every part of that game goes on there the way it was. We owe it to that. And yeah, there are some games that are problematic.
Yeah, well,
you have some stuff that you'll play like, oh my god, that made into the game. But there's some stuff in books that are problematic. Should we, take the pen out for that? No.
I was watching old Seinfeld the other day, and I thought, how did they air this show? Like, if they aired this now, this would be taken off straight away. This is not this is not kosher anymore to do this. But it was funny. But yeah, we can't say that no more, you know? But why you got to kind of like everyone wants to delete history to some extent. Um, let's just keep the good parts of history. Like you only learn from your mistakes by having the bad bits there as well, if that makes sense. That's my take on all
Uh,
that.
and unfortunately, if you base a lot of your history on licensing deals and
Mm,
characters and whatnot, it's time to actually tell that history, you can't do it because, this person doesn't want to pay this much to this to get it going on.
mm. Have you got
That's the
any?
reason.
Oh, sorry. Have you got any license fails? What are the biggest license fails to your?
Licensing fails. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's not just one licensing fail. If the way I see it is this:
Mm,
whether you put any license, whether it be a song or a character or whatnot, make sure it fits with what you're doing. And yeah, for that note, I don't see why Nicki Minaj would be in Call of Duty. It doesn't really fit that. But I wouldn't call that a fail because it's another character. It's not like you're gonna play worse because she's there. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't break the game, so that's fine. But really, the only licensing fails that I can think of is when you do, like there are wonderful games that could go on the Switch, that could go on the Xbox, that could get updated for today's audience, but you can't because of licensing. Like Batman '89 for the NES, awesome 2D platformer. It should be on the Switch, but it's not going to be because of licensing issues.
mm.
Sunsoft does not own the license for Batman. I don't even know if Sunsoft exists anymore, much less owns the rights to something that Warner Brothers is holding on to with an iron fist. So there's a lot of back and forth. So to me, anything like that is licensing failure.
Yeah, I feel like the license. Yeah, that's a very good point. I feel like the license should be forever. We shouldn't have to relicense everything just so I don't know. Like let's because we're gonna lose a lot of these great old games because we
Oh, I mean, geez,
yeah.
like cool spot. And like, yes, it is a 7-Up commercial in video game form,
Mm-hmm.
but it ain't a bad game. It's decent. That could go on the Nintendo Super Nintendo on the Switch thing or
Mm.
whatever. Hell, even just release it again, sell it, put a couple bucks on it. It could be there, but because of licensing, I don't know. So I think 7-Up's owned by Coca-Cola, so yeah, once again, tight-fisted grip on 7-Up.
Yeah, it upsets me because I think that there's a lot of games that I want to play. I was surprised that the Bond game. I think there was a few hoops they had to jump through to get the Bond game re-released on Nintendo and on Xbox
Oh
because
yes, that was.
I heard that was coming out as a 20th anniversary and it ended up being a 25th anniversary. To give you an idea of how, like, I think there's about a 5 year licensing battle to get that game out, and that can be just a lot of headaches and whatnot.
Well, well, that's just the thing about license too. With all the licensing we're talking about, just like these songs and games and all that, some of them had people in rooms wearing suits talking to each other,
Mm.
like about these things to put in these games, like a day, hours, just talking about. Yes, we're gonna put all the distiller songs in all the Tony Hawk games. Here's the money for it. So stuff we kind of take for granted when it comes to licensing, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, um, it's yeah. Any notes before we go on some kind of fun licensing story? Something you want to finish off with?
Well, no, I just think like for the future, it's going to be interesting to see what is in the future. I am excited. I do want to play multiverses mainly because I heard that Jason, from Friday the 13th is going to be in it. And it's not the first time Jason's been in a fighting game, Mortal Kombat X,
Mm.
along with all the other characters, and that's another problem when, these games come out again, you get those characters back. So that definitely seems like it's going to be fun. We're just going to have to get used to everything we know as far as movies, drinks, foods, random pop celebrities. They just might wind up on our games. So if you don't like it, that's fine. But if you do like it, take it in, because when you want to play that in like 10, 15 years, might be a little difficult.
Yeah, you'll go to play it and they'll say this game needs updating, where they accidentally delete all the bits that you had.
Nope. We got Nicki Minaj, and we got Cardi B now. Just gonna have to deal with it.
I want Taylor Swift to come to Call of Duty. That's what I'm going to finish with.
I think she's more of a Rainbow Six girl,
No,
honestly.
if she comes to Call of Duty, imagine she'd have a target all over. Like, imagine everyone.
Well, that's why I work for Rainbow Six. Just like keep her out of division. Keep her.
I would also. What's the other one that comes in with a wrecking ball? She could come in and come.
Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, swinging through the levels. I don't know. Let's get some really funky Vanilla Ice. I want Vanilla Ice in Fortnite. Is he in Fortnite already?
No. See, if you were to put Vanilla Ice in a game, they should have put him in the Turtles game, honestly.
Yeah.
He was in Turtles too. Like, have a level where they're doing the ninja rap in the background and beating the crap out of foot soldiers. That'd been great.
Yeah, but
they couldn't do it because of licensing.
I know. Vanilla Ice put him into the, or MC Hammer. Imagine bringing him back. Oh.
Okay, now I got this idea for a game. It's in the style of like Streets of Rage Final Fight, and you're all these vague late 80s, early 90s acts. So we'll have Vanilla Ice, we'll have MC Hammer, we'll have Nudo, we'll have New Kids on the Block.
Milli Vanilli.
Milli Vanilli, we'll get them on board too.
But they can't speak in the game, just for licensing issues.
Yeah, as a joke. Yeah, hey, licensing, am I right, folks?
Oh yeah, and so they have to wrap off. Is it a wrap off game, or are they fighting?
Oh no, see, because if you watch movies in the 80s, you know, there's always these gang members. They always dress horribly, and they need to be taught a lesson. And like, you know, they wear their hats backwards.
Yeah.
Bright neon clothes. One of them has a boombox that's bigger than all of them put together.
Yeah, I agree. I'm down for this game.
I watched Last Dragon recently, so yeah, it's kind of on my mind. Just a beat 'em up.
Well, let's leave this episode there, and we'll be back in a few. When the next episode is, I don't know. Normally, we're doing this fortnightly now, so that's when the next episode will be. Yeah. Thank you for watching, and go and license something before it runs out. Goodbye.